At the age of 11, my life took a drastic turn when my younger siblings and I were removed from our parents' care and placed into foster care. At that time, my siblings were just 4, 6, and 7 years old. For a year, we were housed in different foster homes, but the emotional scars left by our parents proved too deep to heal. My siblings began to see me as their mother, rejecting any attempts by our foster parents to step in. Their frustration often manifested in physical outbursts, targeting those who tried to help them. As the days passed, my feelings of resentment grew, leading me to isolate myself in a room for hours, neglecting even the most basic needs like food and water. The weight of it all was suffocating. Despite our participation in both individual and family therapy, progress was painfully slow. During family sessions, my siblings would often cling to me, refusing to engage with the therapist or the activities designed to help us bond. Their behavior was a constant reminder of the emotional turmoil we were all experiencing. After a year of this struggle, it was recommended that I take a break from them. What was initially planned as a 6-month separation turned into a full year, during which I moved around before finally settling with a new family. When we finally reunited in therapy, I hoped for a breakthrough, but my siblings still expected me to fulfill the role of their mother. They resisted any attempts to engage in the therapeutic process, and their frustration would often erupt into anger when it was time for me to leave. One particularly intense moment resulted in my younger sister accidentally breaking my arm as she clung to me, unwilling to let go. After another period of no contact, we were allowed to speak on the phone, but the connection never deepened. They remained trapped in their belief that they needed their mother back, not their sister, and their emotional turmoil reached a peak when they learned I had been adopted. For years, there was a complete absence of communication between us. When I turned 18, I made the conscious decision to prioritize my own growth and healing over attempting to reconnect with my siblings. It wasn't until last year, after they had all transitioned out of foster care, that they reached out to me, expressing a desire to rebuild our relationship. I made it clear that any potential connection would require family therapy, which they hesitantly agreed to, despite their initial reluctance. Throughout our sessions, it became evident that they still perceived me more as a parental figure than as their sister. I consistently reminded them of my role as their sibling, emphasizing that I was not their mother and that I wanted to establish a relationship based on that understanding. With the therapist's guidance, I tried to foster a more genuine connection, and while they did begin to open up, the underlying issues remained unresolved. Recently, however, they expressed their anger about our separation, labeling it as cruel and unjust, and they were insistent that I should share my thoughts on the matter. When they pressed me for my perspective, I explained that my experience of being separated was ultimately beneficial for my personal development. I conveyed that it allowed me to heal and enjoy a semblance of childhood, which I desperately needed. I acknowledged their struggles, but firmly stated that I could not bear the burden of being a parent at such a young age. This honesty did not sit well with them. They reacted with hostility, claiming I should never have shared my feelings. Now, I find myself questioning whether I was in the wrong for expressing my truth.
And now moving on to the next story. AITA for going off on my sister after she kept returning my car with an empty tank.
I have been allowing my older sister, Emma, to use my car for some time now, as her vehicle has been out of commission for several months. Given that I work from home and do not rely on my car daily, I thought it would be a kind gesture to lend it to her whenever she needed it. I believed I was supporting family in the way that one should. Initially, everything seemed to be going smoothly. However, I soon began to notice a recurring issue. Each time Emma returned the car, it was nearly empty of gas. I would hand it over with a reasonable amount of fuel, only to find it almost depleted upon its return. After a few instances of this, I decided to address the matter directly. I kindly asked her to ensure that she refilled the tank after using the car, as it was becoming quite inconvenient for me. Unfortunately, despite her assurances, the situation did not improve. The tipping point came when she returned the car with the fuel light on, prompting me to express my frustration. When I confronted her about the need to refill the gas, her dismissive response left me feeling unappreciated for the favor I was extending. Currently, she is quite upset and has chosen not to communicate with me since the incident. My mother supports her perspective, suggesting that I should have overlooked the situation because Emma is going through a tough time. In contrast, my father believes I was justified in distancing myself from her behavior, which he views as disrespectful and entitled. I genuinely feel remorseful about her distress, yet I maintain that my actions were appropriate. If the situation were reversed, I would never dream of treating someone else's vehicle in such a manner. This leads me to question whether my decision to prohibit her from using the car was an overreaction on my part. It is a challenging situation as I navigate my feelings of empathy for her struggles while also standing firm in my principles. Balancing these emotions is not easy, and I find myself reflecting on the best course of action moving forward. Ultimately, I hope to find a resolution that respects both my boundaries and her current challenges.
Thank you for watching. Let us know what you feel about the story. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that could become your next favorite.